All right. We've had a couple people pop in here. So I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So, welcome everyone to the North University and Thayer Street Improvements Project. My name is Jasmine Isaac. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist for the city. So, if you received a postcard or email notification about this information session, then you received it from myself. So, we've got a couple different team members here tonight that are going to share about the project, the timeline, the scope, and then, of course, at the end of the session, we'll have some time for questions. So, just some quick housekeeping rules. We can move on to the next slide. Um, some
I
introduction.
don't have that's it's not in here, Jasmine. We'll just have to talk about it verbally.
That's okay, no worries. Yeah, so I'll give the opportunity for our project team to introduce themselves. So I'll turn it over to Mark real quick.
Hi everyone, Mark McCullough, Wade Trim. I am leading the design and construction oversight for this project. Nice to meet you tonight.
Awesome. So, just some quick housekeeping rules. Obviously, we're all here to have a collaborative workspace to kind of hear some concerns, but also to share with you guys what is up and coming. So, please just use thoughtful language in your questions and your speech. Critique the ideas and not the people presenting them. And most importantly, feel free to ask questions. We're here to answer them. If you're not familiar with Zoom, or if you are, just a quick notice at the bottom of your phone, tablet, or computer, there is a Q&A box. Anytime during the session, you can submit a question. I will receive it. And then at the end of the session, we'll read those out loud and Mark will be able to provide some context. Also, if you have a neighbor or friend that was unable to make it this evening, we will be posting a recording of this presentation a little bit later in the week. So you are welcome to direct people there as well to check it out. And if you have any questions afterward, feel free to email us. Our contact information is on the project webpage. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to Mark so he can go ahead and get us started.
All right, thank you, Jasmine, and good evening again. Welcome. Glad you were able to join us this evening so that we can provide some context, some background information as far as this project that's coming your way in starting in May of 2026. If you've seen around the corner on State Street, it's very similar in nature to that kind of a project, both in what we're doing and the duration of the project as far as timeline goes. So our agenda for this evening, we will talk about what the project goals are, talk a little bit about the project scope and some of the safety enhancements that we are aiming to achieve as part of this project. We'll get a little bit, just really high level, let's talk about the plans and cross sections so you can get a visual of what's coming your way in 2026. And then we'll dive into the project timeline, the detours, and construction access, especially those that are on Thayer. So first, project goals, scope, and enhancement. The City Council, in coordination with the DDA, has passed various initiatives dating back to 2011. So we have complete streets, we have Vision Zero. The DDA has people-friendly streets, carbon neutrality as far as reducing emissions into the atmosphere, and then the comprehensive transportation plan passed by City Council in 2021, which wraps up the three components of the city initiatives of carbon neutrality, Vision Zero, and complete streets. In a nutshell, basically the goal is to make this roadway and other roadways of similar nature in Ann Arbor less car centric and provide opportunities for other means to be able to get from point A to point B, whether it be walking, whether it be biking, or some other form, and do so in the safest manner possible. So the screen right now is what we're looking at as the project limits. The shaded in purple is the project that we're going to be working on in 2026. So it is from North University, just past State Street, and a little bit beyond Fletcher. I can get into that in a moment as to why. And then also Thayer Street from Washington Street to the north to North University. The bluish purple that you see there is a DDA boundary. In case anyone is part of the DDA and the State Street Association district, this kind of gives you a sense of what properties are involved in that, encompassing the project limits. So as far as project scope, One of the big things we're doing, similar to State Street, is we're replacing a water main, aging water main. There's two of them. One's owned by the University of Michigan, the other by the city of Ann Arbor. And those are going to be consolidated into one water main to reduce cost and bring things up to date as far as needs for years into the future. The city has also initiated storm infiltration systems, where that is basically, instead of discharging the water directly into sources like the Huron River, we try to use means and methods to recharge the aquifer into the ground so that sediments get filtered with stone base that you can see right there, rather than being discharged directly into the Huron River. So the goal is to reduce pollution. Sanitary main will be a lesser component that will be done a little bit on Thayer Street. Think of it from basically the south of the not Mayflower, the Bell Tower Hotel to North University Street. And then there's going to be associated sidewalk, curb, and gutter work in order to provide different features, which we'll get into. As you know, the pavement surfaces on both of those roadways are very tired and have exceeded their useful life. So that would be an aspect of it. And then on North University, the street lighting will be upgraded so that it enhances safety for all users along the corridor. Now, specifically, when we get into the safety features, safety enhancements that we're doing, you'll see some of these throughout the slides that are forthcoming. On North University primarily. So there's going to be protected bike lanes similar to what we're doing with State Street. So that's going to give an opportunity for cyclists to have their own space so they're not intermingling with traffic on North University. There is going to be an eastbound transit lane from State Street to just past Fletcher. And that is primarily, it will be used by the RIDE and the University of Michigan in order to maximize their usage time, so they're not delayed, and they can move their patrons from one bus stop to another in the most time efficient way possible, and reducing emissions into the atmosphere, and also a cost associated with burning fuel. There will be a raised crosswalk that will be associated with at the Ingles Mall. More on that in a moment. We already touched upon the illumination. There's going to be I'll call it a enhanced bus stop. The bus stop does exist today across the street from Hill Auditorium for eastbound North University. So you'll see some pictures of that in a moment. And then finally, there's this device that you'll see in yellow called a trapezoidal delineator. And that is a device that is relatively new that is being used to separate sighted pedestrians who are walking on the sidewalk so that they don't cross over and walk into the bike lane. So I'll show you some of those components in a moment here. So what are our construction plans for this talk about? Let's get into some of those details. So I've broken the slides up into a plan view and what we call a typical cross section. So you can see it, a bird's eye view from the top, and then what it would look like from the ground. And I've broken these up into segments because it's easier to articulate there. The different colors here that you're seeing is associated with different types of features that are going to be included in the cross section. So the green is what we call the bike lane. The orange is on-street parking that exists today. That is going to be maintained for those people on the north side of North University. Once the project is over, there will be no loss on-street parking once construction is completed. The red on the bottom is the eastbound transit lane that will only be used for the buses that is going to be going from State Street to Fletcher. In order to facilitate all of these needs in this corridor, the bike lane is going to be going behind the back of curb, the existing back of curb that's there today. So the bike lane will be at the same elevation of the sidewalk, and so it will be above the street level. Crosswalks will be maintained on both sides at State Street and at Thayer, and then the all-way stop control will exist today. As that exists today, will remain in place after construction. So this gives you a cross-sectional view of what it would look like from the ground there. So the north side, where you have Walgreens and the Bagel Place and Panera Bread, that's on your left screen. University Diag is on the right. So you can see the bike lane is behind the existing back of curb. The planter boxes that are there today will remain in place. They will not be disturbed as part of this project. You can see that little yellow line. I don't know if I can get my, yes, I can. So this little yellow line here, and here is that trapezoidal delineator device that we were talking about for the sighted pedestrians, so that when they're walking down the sidewalk, they don't cross over inadvertently and run into a person on the riding on a cycle, on a bicycle. So that's what that feature is for as far as an enhancement goes. We have the on-street parking, the 2 lanes, and then the bus lane that's heading eastbound. Okay, so that last segment was from State Street to Thayer. So now we're going to start focusing east of Thayer Street. A few more colors here. So on the south side, where the university, where kinesiology exists, the building exists today, if you're familiar with the area, there is a bus stop that is there today. This right here is the bus shelter that exists today, but there is nothing other than the sidewalk that's there now. So the university and the ride have both embraced the idea of putting in a platform. You'll see it shortly on State Street when we open in a few weeks, how that's going to work, where the bike lane will go from, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but bear with me. The bike lane will be behind the bus stop. So this is, the bus will stop in the red area going eastbound. It does not pull into the blue area. The blue area is where patrons, users will wait to get onto a bus should they not decide to use the shelter, and load, unload, cross over the bike lane, and then go whether eastbound or westbound on the sidewalk. So let me back up here just for one moment. I'll toggle a couple screens here just so you can get the visual. So as we were on from State to Thayer, the bike lane was behind the back of curb. But once we get to Thayer Street, the bike lane is going to go into the roadway and be parallel to the curb. So it'll be at street level. And that will continue for the remainder of the project as we go east towards Fletcher, with the one exception of going behind the bus stop. More on that in a moment, because I have a visual that'll help explain that. The area in blue is on the north side. That's where Hill Auditorium is. There was a request from Hill Auditorium and the university to provide storage space for, that's not a great word, loading and unloading is a more accurate term, for buses to be able to drop off students and adults at large to performances or any type of event at the Hill Auditorium, and then likewise picking them back up, provide a space that is separate from the bike lane. So as you can see here, this area here can accommodate up to 3 charter buses, and then the bike lane that is proposed in the roadway will merge over to, in this case, south or to the left, so that it is not conflicting with people loading and unloading from the bus area into going into Hill Auditorium. In order to make this work, put all these features in, the median that exists today, which is give or take 20 feet, is going to have to be narrowed so that we can maintain also a regular travel lane for cars going eastbound and westbound, which you see here in gray. So the surface area that you see today will be reduced significantly, but by and large, the curb lines that are there today will remain as it is today. So we're not expanding outwards. We're just using space internal to in the road project to meet the needs and provide all the amenities that are being requested from our stakeholders. So I'm going to show you 2 different cross sections. This is one directly across from Hill Auditorium. So you can see on the left is where Hill Auditorium is. You have the blue loading, unloading for the buses. The intent from my understanding is that they are not to park there for long term, just to drop them off, take off, and then come back when they need to pick people up. So then you have your separated bike lane that will be protected from cars. There will be delineator tubes, not shown here, that will separate the bicycle from the car in this ladder type shaped pavement marking area, or we call a buffer zone. And the boulevard at large today is more or less over here, 20 feet wide. It is substantially being reduced, as you can see in this case, to 5 foot. You have your bus lane going eastbound. You also have the bike lane also going eastbound separated. This bus lane, something I haven't mentioned in the other slide, will also have delineation devices along it so that it will separate users who are not transit related from either parking in that space or using that space in order to get ahead of someone else on the street. So this will only be specific to users in the transit industry. This next slide here, we could focus on the right side. You can see the bus platform that I was talking about. So the bus would come up to the platform and stop and drop people off or pick people up to get onto the bus. And then the pedestrian would cross the bike lane. The bike lane is on street surface, but when you get to the platform, which is give or take 60 to 70 feet from what I recall, it ramps up, give or take 6 inches, and then goes behind the back curb and behind the bus platform, and then ramps back down so they can go transition onto the street level. Okay, we are migrating now to the further east to Ingalls Mall and the Michigan League, which is on the north side of your screen, the upper side of the screen here, or the north. And you have the chemical building on the south side to the bottom half of your screen there. So at Ingalls Mall, there is 2 crossings that exist today. You have one crossing here and one crossing here. The university has embraced the idea of at their request, actually, they desired to consolidate the 2 crossings into one crossing so that it enhances safety so that pedestrians only have to focus on one car coming at them at a time as opposed to 2 different crossing. And likewise, the driver doesn't have to focus on 2 different conflict points of the crossing in short distance. Everything's being consolidated into one spot. So that in and of itself should enhance safety. In order to get the pedestrians to follow the new, what we'll call desired line to go from one side of the mall to the other, we are we are constructing planter boxes that are similar to what exists there today in height so that it requires and achieves the desired effect of the pedestrian to cross at the specific marking that would be there today, rather than continuing to follow old crossings that exist today, east and west of that new spot. This ramp you see here, we got a ramp on both sides. That is an elevated crossing. That's about, give or take, 4 to 6 inches in height. That does 2 things. One, it slows the car down, although that the speed limit on North University is 25 miles an hour. It provides an extra layer enhancement for safety to make sure that cars are following that speed limit. And it also raises that pedestrian as they're crossing the roadway so that they're more in line of the vision line of the driver as they approach that crossing. So I'm going to show you a couple different visuals here for the crossing itself. So you have Ingalls Mall. So Burton Tower, if you're familiar with that, is a little bit over here onto the left, Michigan League over there. So you have your 2 walkways on each side of the pedestrian mall. They're going to have a desire line that goes into the center as part of the consolidation. You can see the new planter boxes that are going to be installed here, constructed here. And likewise, same thing on the south side where you walk down to chemistry on one end and kinesiology on the lower end. That helps you give you some sort of bearing there as they continue to walk towards the Hatcher Library as they go to the south. You can see the red is the bus lane that will be separated with tube devices from the eastbound car lane. Likewise, the westbound lane will be shared by both buses and cars because the primarily the transit people, they excuse me, they start utilizing Fletcher Street to go to the north. They don't continue to go westbound towards State Street or Thayer. So there was not a specific need to provide a specific designated transit lane for their use as they're going westbound. And I'll show you a different slide here. So this kind of gives you more of a focal point of what the look and feel will be like. There will be enhanced street lighting that will be there to light up the crossing at night so that pedestrians can be seen while they're crossing to, again, enhance the safety of it. And then the last slide that I have here as far as bird's eye view focuses on the Fletcher intersection. So there comes a point where ideally it would have been nice for that eastbound transit lane to continue to the transit center, which exists off to the right-hand side of the screen. Unfortunately, this project was only funded to Fletcher Street. So the means and methods to be able to take this lane all the way, say, to Church Street or beyond was not there. So we had to end it in a manner that we felt like was the best feature that would support logistic operations for deliveries to the chemical building, but also enhance the safety of it. So the merging aspect that will happen will be after the Fletcher intersection. The intersection will remain an always stop controlled. And the bus will be required to essentially yield to cars that are either turning from southbound to eastbound from Fletcher to North University, or cars that are traveling eastbound through the intersection. They will have the right of way, and the bus will be required to find a safe gap to merge it back into two lanes into one. This is kind of a familiar situation that you see around town where you have two lanes and ultimately they merge back into one. This is just one that in this case is just specific to the transit only, but throughout the city, you'll see two lanes merging into one. And this is how the design would be incorporated as part of that process. Okay, that's North University Street. Now for Thayer Street, from North University to East Washington, the curb line is going to remain the same. The parking that exists on the west side of Thayer Street will remain after the project. And in addition to that, we're going to add up to 10 on-street parking spots along the east side today. That's going to happen because the two lanes are going to, for travel, for cars, are going to be what we call a share condition for the cyclists. It's a low use, low speed streetway. So in order to offset some of the losses for on-street parking that are happening on State Street, this was a great opportunity to utilize a share condition where cyclists would interact with the car itself on Thayer, between East Washington and North University. There's going to be some isolated sidewalk and curb repairs done on this roadway, but by and large, it's going to be far less than what's going to occur on North University in order to achieve the cross section that I've shown you for the bike lanes and for the bus lane. So as you can see here, this is the west side of Thayer Street. So you have the Bell Tower Hotel would be on the left. You have the parking structure and you have the Humanities building from memory, the Jerky Pit, I believe that's what it's called, Caribbean Jerky Pit. So that's on the left side of the street. You'll have the parking on both sides, as you can see, and then you have the shared use lanes where cars and cyclists will share the use, and then pedestrians on both sides of the sidewalk. Okay, so we're going to transition here into project timeline, detours, and access points. Okay, so we're here tonight. Oh, that's a wrong number. That should be November 10th. Sorry about that. So tonight we're here with our public information meeting on November 10th. And the bid opening is projected to happen on February 17th of 2026. The construction start time is going to be on May 4th. That is to accommodate needs for the university for commencement that is going to occur in the area, specifically at Hill Auditorium. The project is similar to State Street. It's going to pause for the art fair. That is a crown jewel of the city. And we're going to need to vacate the area both from a standpoint of materials and operations so that the street is entirely back to a condition for the art fair to use for the entire week. So phase one will be broken into May 4th to July 10th, and that will focus primarily on the water main work associated with it and the Fletcher Road intersection so that that intersection can be fully open to traffic during phase two so that buses can operate during the fall semester to the transit center using Fletcher and North University east of Fletcher, the intersection. So phase two will resume on July 20th, similar to what we did on State Street. And we're projecting that work to go up to November 13th. So that would be the what we call the open to traffic projected date, weather permitting. Sometimes we are delayed a week like we are on State Street right now, but pretty good timing wise for a project this size and nature. Okay, so how do you get from point A to point B? Point A being one side of the project and point B being the other side of the project, specifically on North University. So the Thayer Street in and of itself, we have to maintain access to the parking structure, to the Bell Tower Hotel, uh, safety as far as getting to utilizing the for fire needs in the Ingalls Mall, and then there's a couple residents, apartment complex, and a resident on the west side of the street. All of that is going to primarily be maintained through East Washington Street intersection. So those people will be maintained in that direction. University, we're dealing with separately. They'll have access in specific cases on both ends, but the roadway will be closed to through traffic. So the general public is not going to be allowed to travel on North University from State Street to Fletcher and vice versa. So the purple dashed line is the detour route that's proposed now. It is long, it is lengthy. Unfortunately, it's because there are a multitude of other projects occurring around downtown Ann Arbor next year, some private development, other are city projects. So phase one, again, would be from May 4th to the art fair. And just so I wasn't clear, I didn't really say this, I gotta see here. So we have State Street south to Hill Street, and then Hill Street will utilize Forest to Washtenaw back to North University. One caveat here, the westbound direction of North University will be open for right turns to go northbound on Fletcher during phase one. So that's what that note here, westbound North University to northbound Fletcher open during phase one. The northbound, southbound State Street will be open at North University for people that have to make deliveries to the campus area and other miscellaneous items along the way for like the League and Burton Tower and whatnot. Phase two is going to be a lot easier. And the reason why it's going to be a lot easier is we're going to utilize a very simplistic detour route. Fletcher, East Washington to State Street. Ideally, it would be wonderful to utilize this during phase one. However, the other crown jewel of the city is Summerfest, and they utilize East Washington Street for essentially the month of June from Thayer to Fletcher. So that's why during phase one, we needed to go all the way down to Hill Street in order to detour traffic. But during phase two, which is the week after the art fair, through the end of November, things will be much simpler to be able to get around and navigate around the project limits. Okay, there's a lot of information on this slide. You can find it on the Engage website, but this was used so I could do my homework in figuring out who needed to have access maintained to them while construction is going on because of the unique circumstances involved with it between the alleyway, garbage pickup, those types of things. So in a nutshell, primarily anyone that has business on Thayer Street, their point of access will come from one of two ways. It'll either be from East Washington Street to the north, or it'll be State Street and North University to the west. And the reason I say one or the other is completely dependent upon the operations that are happening from week to week. There is going to be, in the beginning of the project, the water main and the sanitary main is going to be installed on Thayer Street in this boxed area right here in order to then facilitate a roofing project that's going to occur to Hill Auditorium from June to September. So it's going to be imperative for us to be able to make an installation of those two underground features prior to June 1st when the contractor will be starting work on the roofing project. So we're going to have to coexist with one another. Likewise, there's going to be storm and there's going to be water main throughout the summer installed in this area here. So unfortunately, we cannot provide on-street parking on either Thayer Street or North University from May to um, from May to November, just because of space, just because of safety. There has been a request from Hill Auditorium from drop off. We are looking into that. We will be reaching out to them as far as what potentially can be occurred for drop offs with people with disabilities. But as far as drop offs or parking during daytime hours, it's just not going to be feasible. So it will be parking will be restricted to no parking in the construction zone. But there will be access to the parking facility for Bell Tower via one way or the other, and then likewise the N4 structure that is used for both people that work at the university and then also for things like the art fair and the summer festival. Okay, that was a lot of information. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions to ask. I'm here to answer them as best as I can. And I'm going to pass things back to Jasmine and hear what your questions are and see what we could do.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So, first question is from Bud. He says, very helpful and clear slides. Thank you. I understand North University planters on the north side of the street will be untouched. Will the sidewalk from the planters to the buildings also be untouched?
Mostly. And why do I say mostly? So there are going to be, from memory, 4 different water service leads that are going to be going from the new water main in the roadway to the building. So we're going to, throughout the summertime, we're going to need to coordinate how that tie over happens so that water surface goes from the old main to the new main. So other than that, that's the only reason why there will not be a sidewalk access for a very short duration. And during that time, we would detour them appropriately so they can get from one side to the other.
Okay. Um, Next question from Alex. Will there be a crossing light at the new Ingalls Mall combined crossing, similar to the one further east on North University at the CCTC?
Yes, I'm familiar with that crossing. No, there will not be a traffic signal associated there. It will be marked as it is today. So you'll have the pavement markings and the signage, but there'll be no features beyond that, like a RRFB or a traffic signal.
Okay. Next question. In the drawing, the loading zone in the front of Hill Auditorium is designated for buses, but this is an infrequent use for the venue. A more consistent use is the drop off of elderly people or people with disabilities. Is there a reason why this can't also serve that purpose? Want to clarify that signage won't prohibit this.
Yeah, it is. I think it is a possibility, but it is a matter that I need to, and my team needs to work with both the city and representatives of Hill Auditorium to find out what the specific needs are and how they could potentially be accommodated. So, short answer is, I'm hopeful that we can utilize that just for, not just for um, loading and unloading for buses. That was the origin as to why that came about. So it might have some more specific use to be continued and to be determined.
Okay. Is the car drop off, excuse me, is the drop off curb cut on Thayer Street near the east end of Hill Auditorium remaining?
It was not projected to remain, but since Friday, so what do I mean by that? The sidewalk was going to be filled in that area. Since that time, and I have not talked to Hill Auditorium, but I have talked to the city, we are exploring how an ADA parking spot could be provided at that location. So wheelchair accessible so that people, at least on a minimum one side of the roadway, can utilize, go from their car from the street to the sidewalk and then ramp up to the ramp one of 2 ways. So I'll call it the west building ramp that exists to Hill Auditorium. Long story short is I'm hoping to utilize that area so that it can be utilized for ADA needs, but that is to be determined. I gave you a long answer there. So the short answer was it was to be converted to sidewalk, but we're trying to utilize that space for other needs if possible.
Okay.
But keep in mind that the parking that's there today for commercial will remain. I could probably go back to sharing my screen because it'll probably be helpful. Let me see if I can pull this off. Share. I don't know what you guys can see. You're looking at wrong screen. Let me try again. That screen is what I want. There we go. All right. And it'll let me. There we go. Okay. So you can visually see right here, it's faint line. That's where that bay area existing today. And I was talking about the sidewalk going in, but the parking itself will not be lost. The parking will still be provided by these two spots that are right here. So in lieu of just making the sidewalk, we're trying to envision an opportunity for an ADA accessible parking space for someone to do a drop off if necessary, so that they can then utilize the ramp into Hill Auditorium that exists there. So I'm hoping that that helps give you a visual of what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay. All right. Next question from Mike. Has the impact of the additional parking on the east side of Thayer Street on structure access street gridlock during events ever been studied? Has the impact of the additional parking on the east side of Thayer Street on structure access and street gridlock during events been studied?
No, no study has been utilized for that.
Okay. Next question from Bud. Will there be enhanced lighting on North University between State Street and Thayer?
Yes. So there is lighting there today, and we are going to replace the 7 lights that are existing now with up-to-date features so that it enhances lighting along the corridor.
Okay. Um, Question from Alex. Will it be feasible to get a semi-tractor and 53-foot trailer to the loading dock at Hill Auditorium from September to November? Many shows coming into Hill Auditorium come in with 53-foot trailers.
Yeah, so that is definitely going to be a must for the contractor to be able to facilitate. Currently, the way it is laid out today for those trucks is it has the truck has to come in going northbound and then back in. So we are looking to, in fact, I have a couple dates from Hill Auditorium that I want to, throughout the project as it goes through the fall, to communicate on a weekly basis as necessary with Hill Auditorium representatives, so that our contractor can be aware of needs for staging equipment coming in and out of that. So that's going to be a weekly process to be able to try to facilitate those needs. But short answer is the contractor is going to have to provide access to that ramp for Hill Auditorium needs. What I
Okay.
mean by ramp, meaning the dock.
Mhm. Okay. Question from Bud. When the new water mains are being put in from the street to the buildings, will there be a bridge for pedestrians to still be able to walk to all businesses on North U?
Define bridge. So what I can share my screen again. And happened again. Sorry, guys. Sometimes it catches it, sometimes it doesn't. Here's what I want, that one. I have like 9 different choices to choose from, and apparently I'm picking the wrong one at times. Okay. So there, I don't have a good one to show you from the entire project, but there will be access that'll be provided on one side of Thayer Street or the other. So people will be able to get from one side from here to there. Likewise, at Ingalls Mall, this will be maintained throughout construction. And then the crossing at Fletcher Street will also be provided during construction. Now, if you're talking about east-west movement, there will be times where sidewalks will have to be out of commission while we're constructing them. So at those points, there would be some type of a detour route that would be in place to get from one side to the other, meaning from the east side to the west side. They may have to cross the street, but they will not be closed simultaneously where neither side of the street is available to them.
Okay. Um, Question from Mike. This is Mike, owner of the building that Brugger's Bagel is in. What about supply delivery as of now? The alley behind the stores is blocked most times by employees of some of the stores. Where can trucks park to deliver supplies?
Likely State Street is my best guess for that. Maybe on a good day on Thayer Street, but it we will not have the space, unfortunately, on North University in front of your store with the water main activities and the storm sewer activities for a truck to park right out in front and make those deliveries. I was going under the assumption that the deliveries were occurring through the alley because you have a door back there. But if there's more for me to know about, feel free to reach out to me and we can discuss those and see what we can accommodate.
Okay. Oh, Bud did a follow-up about the bridge. He was saying bridges to allow walking the full block on the north side, east to west. And he said, thank you. You answered my question. Okay.
Cool.
Um, Somebody asked if these slides will be available publicly. I'll answer that question. We plan to upload the slides tomorrow, and this recording of this presentation will probably be up by Thursday or Friday. We have to do some editing and trim the video and get it uploaded. So that will take a day or two, but the slides will definitely be up tomorrow. So that is the answer for that one. Next question. For many Hill Auditorium concerts, there are private buses from area senior living centers that drop off and pick up patrons on Thayer Street to be able to access the ramps on the west side of Hill Auditorium. If that is moved to North University, patrons who use wheelchairs and walkers will not be able to access the ramps. Just please take this into consideration as part of the ADA drop-off parking area as well.
Yeah, it duly noted. There's two things to keep in mind though. One, there is an ADA accessible ramp on the east side that can be gained from the Ingalls Mall crossing. And the reason why I bring that up is the Hill Auditorium is having a roofing project that's going to be utilizing that entire space there. I don't know this for fact, but I am working under the assumption that entrance will not be accessible during the summer just because of safety needs. I may be getting ahead of my skis, but point is that the other accessibility access point into Hill Auditorium may need to be from the east side via the Ingalls Mall. But those are details that I desire to communicate and work out with Hill Auditorium and see what we can provide.
Awesome. Bud says, thanks for you for the lighting consideration on North U. It is needed very much. The middle of the street by the planter gets very dark.
Great.
Next question from Jeffrey. After the renovation with parking on both sides of Thayer Street, will a 53-foot truck be able to back into the two bays of the hill loading dock? I think you may have addressed that already, maybe.
The parking spaces will be placed in designated areas so that all those movements can be facilitated, not just getting in and out of the different bays that exist there, but also for emergency access into Ingalls Mall. So it won't be nose to nose parking along the entire east corridor. There'll be like a couple spots here, a couple spots there, and then blocked in conjunction so that sufficient space is provided along the corridor for the other needs.
Okay. Question from Alex. Will the sidewalks be closed at any point on either side of South Thayer during the project?
Yes, but substantially less time than North University. And that is to do some general maintenance to slabs of concrete that are in need of repair. Or to provide in this case, Hill Auditorium, a service lead, water service lead to Hill Auditorium. But duration should be short, and closure would only happen to one side of the sidewalk, one side of the street at a time. It would not happen concurrently, so that both sides are closed at the same time.
Okay. Um, Question/comment. I think the gridlock that Mike Mickelin mentioned is a major issue, with thousands of people often arriving within 30 minutes of each other to access the campus venues and nearby parking structures. Additional street parking near MLB on Thayer Street would further contribute to that gridlock. You may want to visit Hill Auditorium in the period before a UMS concert to see how the space is used in the gridlock to prevent even further problems in the future. So we'll definitely take that into consideration and noted. Alrighty. And Mike, a question from Mike. Can you tell us what building will be assessed for the water main connection? Accessed for the water main connection.
Ooh, Ryan, you there?
I am here.
Brian, do you recall which buildings are getting the water main leads? I know Panera Bread is one of them. Um, is it Walgreens, the bagel joint, what we'll
Yeah,
call SRK Investments, and then the Panera Bread? Is it four, or there's just three on that side of the roadway?
there is just three from my knowledge.
Okay, so what you, Walgreens is one, right?
Mhm.
Or okay, and then Panera is the second one. Who's the third one?
I would assume Brugger's. I'm not 100% though.
Okay. To that person, feel free to send me an email and reach out to me, and we can get that information to you that you're seeking.
Okay. Next question. What kind of delineators will be used for the North University bike lane? Has consideration been given to the needs of the Ann Arbor Art Fair? They will have to remove these each year at a tremendous expense if an easily removable product isn't installed or used.
Yeah. So the tube that we would be using is similar to what exists on State Street, south of South University. So it is bolted into the ground. The game plan is to place them 10 foot on center so that many of them can stay from a year-to-year basis. That's at least what we did on State Street. Now, talking to individuals on the North University or logistics of their operation, runs a little bit differently, and those operations can change from a year-to-year basis. So in that case, the tubes that you would see that are give or take 3 feet in height and they're bolted into the ground, they would need to just be removed as part of the project and, excuse me, as part of the art fair, and then reinstalled after the art fair is concluded.
Okay. That is all of our questions. So I'll give like a minute or so in case there's some additional ones. But if not, you're always welcome to submit a question to us via email at any time. And as I stated before, these slides as well as a recording of this presentation will be available in the coming days. So feel free to revisit it, share it with your neighbors, with your business partners. And that is really all that we have for you today. So if there's no other questions, then we will wrap up this session. And thank you guys.
Thank you everyone for joining, and we hope we found this beneficial to you.